Chatbots and conversational AI in telemedicine. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Evan Kohn, Chief Business Officer at Pypestream. Welcome, Evan.
Hi, Tonya. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Tell us, what does Pypestream do?
Well, Pypestream's an all-in-one cloud messaging platform that large corporations and health organizations use to engage with consumers, as well as patients at scale with conversational AI. So our company was born out of the notion that people hate calling call centers or sending emails to customer service only to hear back in days. So the combination of automation and messaging is allowing organizations to become really always on entities. So this includes hospital systems, healthcare providers, insurers, because the days of 9 to 5 customer service hours just can't be over soon enough for the average person who wants to engage with a business or an organization really on their own time, and in the same way that they engage with friends and family. So people today expect immediacy, and messaging is really the fastest path for organizations to operationalize this. I'd add that these types of investments are paying pretty enormous dividends for companies and organizations today. Many of our Fortune 500 customers are seeing 30% plus increases in customer satisfaction, but also 90% plus cost savings compared to anywhere from $6 to $15 averages per call for many companies to field basic questions from their consumers, from their audience. So customer-centric enterprises today can really embrace this move toward messaging because it doesn't compromise customer or patient experience. It's ultimately transforming it as part of this ongoing paradigm shift.
With the shutdowns and remote relocation related to COVID-19, how has the use of chatbots and conversational AI and telemedicine evolved?
Yeah, we've seen a rapid increase in interest from health organizations wanting to accelerate their digital transformation efforts. To date, telemedicine has been assumed to only be conducted via phone or video. And we're now seeing this consumer shift toward messaging enter into the health space as well. For example, early in the COVID-19 outbreak, we partnered with an organization called MedCall Advisors that has hundreds of ER physicians around the country. And we worked with them to automate coronavirus screening, specifically conversationalizing a series of questions to determine if a patient is at risk of having coronavirus. So those questions, according to CDC guidelines, we found that to be a much more accessible way for patients to just to find out if they should be talking to a doctor or a nurse, as opposed to navigating a clunky web portal or filling out an onerous form. So this automation of COVID-19 screening via messaging allowed us and MedCall to determine what population of patients should be escalated to a care coordinator and ultimately a doctor. And this ended up saving a lot of time for doctors and nurses. So it allows us to honor their precious time, especially amid the outbreak, as there's so much dependency day to day on those frontline workers. So these types of messaging experiences are also helping ensure accurate, consistent, quick dissemination of information from health organizations to patients. And as health organizations are spending billions on even basic customer service questions in the US, these new opportunities as telemedicine capabilities evolve beyond phone or other means into the messaging paradigm has really become a no-brainer for a lot of health organizations. And also because the use cases are really unlimited in terms of what you can automate through conversational AI. Everything from medication monitoring, proactive appointment alerts, sharing lab results, just keeping patients up to date on their condition, or helping them with care navigation. So that's something that we spend a lot of time on as well. Our team's working with health executives to really prioritize what are the use cases that would pay the highest dividends in terms of operational efficiency for health organizations to operationalize, but also what will pay the highest dividends in terms of patient experience and really improving outcomes.
So, to what degree is conversational AI spontaneous versus prescripted?
Sure, well, it's really a combination. So once an organization sets out the use cases to automate, we have a set of pre-designed conversation flows, pre-built back-end integrations, as well as training data specifically for AI in healthcare. So we'll take that and implement it according to those set use cases. But it's not purely just a journey where you're navigating carousels or watching videos or tapping on option buttons within a web conversational interface. There's a free text entry field as well. And that's where the power of our AI, which is called Dovetail, will parse the user's intent. And we take a bit of a different approach to that. As opposed to just doing basic keyword match or using a single classifier like many organizations do. We'll use a variety of classifiers and use different combinations of them according to the use cases, the industry, specifically in this case of healthcare. And on top of that, use semantic search as well as sentiment and tone analysis. And in that is even emoji analysis. So really adapting to the most modern and informal ways that customers and patients might interact. So we found, rather than where a lot of providers will just become obsessed with the natural language understanding component of these types of solutions, where it's all free text entry, whereas on the other end of the spectrum, there are other providers that just do kind of basic chatbots that are purely rule driven. We've brought those together, and through the design exercise of really tailoring an experience to specific use cases and ultimately the business goals of this health organization, we'll bring those capabilities together for a unique patient experience that is ultimately effortless, is going to drive higher satisfaction, and really offload the mundane components for agents, for care coordinators, for doctors and nurses around data collection or the basics that automation can really help with.
Pandemic or not, telemedicine has a bright future, right? So where are the next big opportunities for chatbots and conversational AI in this space?
Yeah, well, let me first say there's a really wide spectrum now between a basic chatbot that you can build in a university dorm room in 2 hours, and the other end of the spectrum, advanced, secure, scalable, HIPAA compliant, PCI compliant, conversational AI. And that's where we at Pypestream have really dedicated a ton of product and engineering resources toward that latter, so that ultimately we can automate more experiences and offload the manual work from organizations in a preferred way around messaging for consumers. But there are new use cases that we're seeing every day brought to life, and I think this paradigm shift is really making health organizations more resilient by allowing their workforces, including doctors and nurses on the front lines, to dedicate maximum time toward patient care, while that mundane data collection is handled by AI and automation. So I think we'll increasingly see, with the advent of 5G and even more so increasing consumer expectations toward immediacy in their lives, these types of telehealth are going to grow. And first maybe for rural organizations, but also whether or not the pandemic is here for a few more months or another year or two, this has already had a major impact in just shifting the mindset, I think, of a lot of healthcare executives. And they're now in the mode of thinking, what are the use cases that will really help us serve patients better through these new means of communication?
Evan Kohn, Chief Business Officer at Pypestream. If somebody wants to connect with you, Evan, how can they do that?
Sure. Well, they can go to pypestream.com. That's pypestream.com, or they can DM me on Twitter at Evan Kohn. That's EvanKohn.
Thanks again, Evan, for your time. And find more of my interviews right here or at tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.